Yes, and we are back. We're back at the bottom of the hour. This is Big Vernon App Stupid. Want to talk some ACC football. Now we just covered Cleveland actually giving Denver a handful of magic beans to get Jerry Jeudy and John Arthur Elway Jr. agreeing to a ridiculous deal for fifth and sixth rounders in draft compensation. But again, gonna double dutch now. We're gonna go to the ACC, talk some college football, and we're gonna go with Bill O'Brien. He's adding NFL former head coach to the staff. Yep, and it's Doug Marrone. Doug Marrone, him and Bill back together again. I guess this is one of those things where people sing reunited and it feels so good. This is out of Football Scoop and Zach Barnett. Barnett writes, former Buffalo Bills and Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Doug Marrone is taking an off-field role on Bill O'Brien's new Boston College staff. According to reports from Saturday from ESPN, Marrone will be a senior analyst for football strategy and research for the Eagles. Good for him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy Doug Marrone is gainfully employed, and I'm also happy that Bill O'Brien is gainfully employed too. And when we got money on the show, we got some money, people. That always gets me right there. I so much love that little 20-second riff. But O'Brien and Marrone, and we're going to go ahead and get back into Barnett here. O'Brien and Marrone, they worked together on Alabama's 2021 staff, and O'Brien as a Crimson Tide offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, and Marrone, the offensive line coach, and at Georgia Tech in the late 1990s. Then Marrone coached the Yellow Jackets, tight ends, and O-linemen. And O'Brien was Georgia, and he was at Georgia, and then he was the later. No, he wasn't. He was in Georgia Tech, but somehow or another he ended up as the running backs coach. So they had this kind of camaraderie back and forth between the two, and they seemingly worked together, and they've had a great relationship. So, congratulations to them. Now, it's well documented that, to me, guys like Bill O'Brien, Charlie Weiss, Romeo Crennel, Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia, all of these guys have ran what I call the Patriot scam. And they sit here and they tell these football colleges and organizations, hey, we know the secret sauce. We worked with Bill Belichick. We got to look to see how the machine runs. And everywhere they went, it was an epic failure. It was. There's no need to sugarcoat this. No Patriots assistant or no Patriots position coach has went anywhere and made something happen, to the point where you had guys like Joe Day, and his stint in the NFL was so short as a Giants head coach, and all he did was sit up under Nick Saban and sit up under Bill Belichick, and then they gave him a job. And he didn't last long with the New York Giants. Look it up. It's just reality. It's a scam. These guys aren't really what people think they are. And it's that perceived value that makes most colleges and most football organizations overpay some of these guys who haven't really proved anything. And so with the whole, Bill O'Brien scam that he was running, I think he would have got exposed had he stayed at Ohio State. Because why would you leave Ohio State, the number 2 ranked recruiting class, because they got the number 1 transfer in the portal with Caleb Sand? On top of that, you had Aaron Nord coming in, the kid out of Georgia. Ryan Day gave you the keys to call all of the plays, and you left that. You left that to go coach the Boston Eagles. Not saying anything bad about the good people in Boston, but why would I walk away from potentially a national champion to go work at a school that's a nowhere school in the ACC? Again, I don't understand what the mystique and the intrigue is. And now guys can say, oh, well, I coached up under Nick Saban. So now they'll be running the Nick Saban scam. I tell you. Okay. And Barnett, he goes on to write here as well, is that O'Brien made his name as an offensive assistant for the New England Patriots. I told you, the scam. And later as a head coach of the Houston Texans. Now, his time with the Houston Texans was a mixed bag because J.J. Watt was already there. Deshaun Watson was already there. And then they had DeAndre was the wide receiver. And he felt some sort of way because everybody, they gravitated towards DeAndre Hopkins, and Bill O'Brien successfully drove that franchise into the ground because he decided that everybody needed to fear him, or when he walked around and huff and gruffed and looked mad. Come on, man. The only people who think like that are people with little man's complexes. And I will say he had a little man's complex in that one. So thank you for successfully destroying the Texans. And Marrone served as an assistant for the New York Jets and New Orleans Saints before landing a head job with Buffalo and Jacksonville, following 4 years as a head coach at Syracuse. Now, in his time at Syracuse, when was Syracuse ever a threat? Yeah, I thought so. At his time at Syracuse, when did Syracuse ever win the ACC? Again, these guys, because they get these jobs and because you've coached on these levels, that sometimes there has to be a lot of preparation. I don't trash talk. I'm just giving you the stark reality. And so now that you have an egomaniac on one hand, and then on the other hand, you have two epic losers. No matter where they've went, and when they've had the ship on their own, somehow they seem to crash and burn this plane. You've unleashed that on college kids. Yeah, that's the scam. But we'll go ahead and explore more of why this is a horrendous event when we come back from a quick 20 from an unofficial sponsor of the show. This is Big Vern at App Stupid. Subway, eat fresh, refresh. Try any of the new Subway Signature Subway Series subs. I'm sure they're delightful. Also, try the sidekicks. You can get a foot-long cookie, you can get a foot-long churro, or a foot-long pretzel. Subway, eat fresh, refresh. Download the app or visit your good folks at your local Subway. Order online. Subway, eat fresh, refresh. So when we last left off, I was asking people, is this really enough? Them two, just names alone, because that's not going to pull in recruits. And if you go by 24/7, the website, Boston College has the 70th ranked recruiting class in 2024. So you all signed on for this. The 70th ranked recruiting class. I don't even really pay attention if you fall out of the top 30. And you're 40 spots behind that. And that's disgusting. They have one 3-star kid, and that's the quarterback Jonathan Montage Jr. from North Carolina. I hope he's, like I said, I haven't seen much film on the kid, but I'll go ahead and look that over. He's their 3-star recruit that they've landed. Hopefully they can, with Bill O'Brien, he's touting his chops at working at Alabama and stuff, and hopefully he can help this kid get to the next level in the ACC. They've got 10 transfers. The few who stood out to me were Cameron Martinez, the safety from Ohio State, and then they had Ryan Turner, the cornerback from Ohio State, and then Jordan McDonald, the 6'1" running back out of UCF. So those are the transfers into the program that stood out to me out of the 10 that they had. But that's still not enough. I mean, that's not enough in the ACC. I mean, last year, the finishing rank at the end of the year for the Boston College Eagles was 68. 68 in the nation. Overall, 80th on defense and 77th ranked offense of 2024. These are all horrendous numbers by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not going to get better for the good people of Boston College because you all have the 70th ranked recruiting class next year. So I don't care who you brought in, it's just not going to work out. You can go ahead and dig up Vince Lombardi and animate his ass and put him over there weekends at Bernie's, and it's still not going to work. And I mean, I'm not as harsh as most people in the editing, but how are you going to change the culture of a program with 2 NFL burnouts? I'm not saying they can't get it done. I'm just saying they're not going to get it done this year. Not in 2024. Because when you look at the schedule, September the 2nd, they play Florida State University in Tallahassee. They're going to get their head crushed. Then they play Duquesne's. I'm going to say that's a 50-50 game. And September the 14th, they play Missouri, SEC team. That ain't going to go too well. Then they get beat up again September the 21st against Michigan State. September the 28th, they play Western Kentucky. That game might work out for them, but it's Western Kentucky, and they better win that game because if they don't win that game, it could be a long season for them because then you jump into ACC play and you play Virginia October the 5th. So that rough first set of games is a slate. You get the defending ACC champions in Florida State. Then you're playing Missouri, the SEC. Then you get Michigan State in the Big Ten. Then you get a softball. You get 2 softballs between Duquesne and Western Kentucky. But Virginia, if Virginia's got something to prove, they'll prove it early. Then you roll into a bye week. Coming back, you play Virginia Tech. You should win that game. Then you play Louisville, October the 25th. That's a buzzsaw. You're not going to beat Louisville. Then you have another bye. Then you play Syracuse. You should beat them. Then you play SMU, one of the new additions in the ACC this year, on 11/16. November the 20th, you play Carolina. And then November the 30th, you get beat up by Pittsburgh. And then December the 7th is the ACC championship game, which we know you won't be playing in. You won't have anything to do with it. You're not going to be anywhere around it. So don't act like you're going. Don't even think about it. But again, I could be putting the cart before the horse, but something tells me I'm not. So how do you feel about it? Do you think Doug Marrone and Bill O'Brien can actually pull off making Boston College look legit? Or is this just them making a free check for the next 6 months? We'll be back. This is Big Vern at App Studio.